The black SUV was backing out slowly, like it had all the time in the world. Most people wouldn't have noticed it. The engine didn't roar. The windows were tinted. The driver never made eye contact. But K9 Officer Echo did. And when he saw that tiny hand flash a signal behind the glass, a gesture so brief it could have been missed in a blink, he launched into a bark so fierce, it froze the entire parking lot. Officer Ryan Keller had worked with Echo for 4 years. He'd never seen the dog lose control, until that moment. And thank God for that. Because in that split second, everything changed. What was supposed to be a slow Wednesday night in Fort Claridge turned into a race to save a child, and only Echo knew where to start. The call had come in routine. A possible petty theft at the Maplewood Plaza, somewhere between the Save More grocery store and the Dollar Depot. Ryan and Echo were already out on patrol, so they swung by, half expecting it to be nothing. The parking lot lights buzzed overhead as Ryan spoke with the store manager, who looked more annoyed than worried. Probably just a teen trying to snag some energy drinks again, the guy muttered, waving toward the snack aisle. We got it handled. You didn't need to come all the way out here. Ryan offered a polite smile. Better safe than sorry. You mind if I walk the lot before I go? The manager shrugged. Suit yourself. Echo was already restless, tail stiff, eyes darting toward the far end of the lot. Ryan gave him the command, check it out. They moved together, their shadows stretching long under the halogen lights. Echo's gait quickened as they passed a line of parked cars. Ryan followed close behind. That's when the barking started. Not just barking, snapping. Echo dug in his paws and lunged toward a black SUV slowly reversing out of a spot near the edge of the lot. Echo, heel. Ryan called. But Echo wouldn't heel. Instead, he positioned himself directly behind the SUV, blocking its path, his body rigid, mouth open wide in a snarl that didn't sound like training. Ryan jogged up, hand on his holster, eyes narrowing. The SUV paused. Then started creeping forward again. Ryan stepped in, flashing his badge with his free hand. Hold up. Stop the vehicle. That's when it happened. Just for a split second. A hand, small, pale, and trembling, pushed up against the back passenger side window. Then 2 fingers tucked into the palm, the thumb crossed over. A gesture. Help. Ryan's heart dropped into his stomach. He recognized the signal. It had gone viral a few years ago. A hand signal for silent help, used by abuse victims and the abducted. Discreet. Life-saving. Dispatch, this is Officer Keller. Possible child abduction in progress. Black SUV, no front plate, temporary tag on rear, partial obscured, requesting backup now. But the SUV was already peeling off. Echo tried to chase it, his nails scraping the pavement, but it was gone before they reached the road. Ryan stood still for a beat, heart pounding. Then he crouched beside Echo, one hand gripping the dog's harness. You saw that too, didn't you, boy? Echo whined and pawed at the ground where the SUV had been. Ryan scanned the spot. A napkin. Crumpled. Maybe from the fast food place across the street. He picked it up with a gloved hand. A faint smear of red jam, almost dry. It smelled like strawberry. Ryan froze. He didn't know many kids who liked black coffee or mustard on toast, but strawberry jam? That hit like a memory. Back in the cruiser, Ryan typed into his onboard computer, bringing up the Amber Alerts in Colorado for the past week. There it was. Liam Brooks. Age 9. Missing 3 days. Last seen leaving Langdon Elementary School. Witnesses reported a man in a dark SUV speaking to him near the bike racks. Ryan stared at the photo. Bowl cut. Wide brown eyes. Missing front tooth. He zoomed in. The kid was holding a sandwich in the school photo. Crumbs on his shirt. Red jam. Echo barked again from the passenger seat, his nose pressed to the glass, still fixated on the last direction the SUV went. "Let's move, partner," Ryan muttered, flipping on the sirens. They traced the last camera feed from Maplewood Plaza, but the SUV had vanished like smoke. Ryan requested access to nearby traffic cams and gas station footage. 30 minutes later, he found a match. The SUV had pulled into a speedway station just 5 miles away. The timestamp? 3 minutes after it left the plaza. The footage was grainy, but the temporary tag was clearer this time. The driver was tall. Baseball cap. Glasses. Face partially obscured. He never got out of the car. But Ryan paused the footage and enhanced the back window. There it was again. That same hand. Pressed up against the glass. Only this time, it lingered. Just long enough for the camera to catch it. Echo growled softly as Ryan played the clip again. "That's him, isn't it?" he whispered. "That's Liam." It was almost midnight when Ryan pulled off to a rest stop overlooking Highway 62. He stepped out with Echo and let the dog stretch. But Echo didn't relax. He sniffed the air. Circled. Then barked toward the woods beyond the rest stop fence. Ryan followed. The flashlight beam caught something shiny in the dirt. A plastic zipper tab. From a kid's backpack. Next to it, muddy tire tracks. Fresh. And a tiny, torn sticker with a cartoon dinosaur. "Echo," Ryan said, kneeling, "I think we just found his trail." The forest beyond the rest stop wasn't thick, but it was enough to swallow a child whole. Officer Ryan Keller crouched low, flashlight sweeping left and right. His boots crunched over dry leaves and pine needles as Echo moved ahead, his nose low to the earth, body tense with alert. The K9 paused at a tree trunk, sniffed deeply, then looked back at Ryan with a short bark. "You smell him, Echo?" Ryan whispered, moving closer. The plastic zipper tab and sticker they'd found back at the rest stop hadn't been much, but they weren't nothing. And right now, nothing was what the task force had. Ryan wasn't about to wait for command to catch up. Echo suddenly veered right, into a narrow break in the trees, and Ryan followed without hesitation. The beam from his flashlight bounced across the undergrowth until it caught something that made his stomach turn, a child-sized footprint, still fresh in the mud. Then another. Smaller than his hand. Echo barked again, more insistent now, and led Ryan to a thin trail that cut between two fallen logs. The tracks were easy to miss unless you were looking. Scuff marks. Twigs broken. Like someone had tried to leave a path, quietly. Or secretly. Ryan's radio crackled behind him. He turned the volume down. "Dispatch, this is Keller. I'm tracking a possible lead from Highway 62 rest stop. Going radio silent. Back in 20. He clicked off the radio before they could argue. This was something he and Echo had trained for: isolated searches, remote terrain, limited visibility. But what Echo did next, Ryan didn't expect. The dog froze mid-step, ears perked forward, then dropped low to the ground and began to crawl. Not sprint, not bark, crawl. Ryan stopped breathing. "What is it, buddy?" Echo reached a small thicket and pushed through. Ryan followed carefully, lifting branches, and then he saw it. A sleeping bag, blue with cartoon rocket ships. Crumpled. Dirty. And completely empty. Next to it was a half-eaten granola bar and an empty juice pouch, punctured at the top like it had been bitten through. And beside it, a piece of paper. Ryan picked it up with a gloved hand. It was a crayon drawing, smeared and slightly damp from dew. It showed a tall man with a baseball cap, standing beside a black SUV. Beside him was a smaller figure, face sad, with a hand raised in that same silent SOS. The paper trembled in Ryan's fingers. This wasn't just a lead anymore. This was a message. Ryan radioed in the Discovery and marked the location for backup, but he wasn't stopping. Echo clearly had more to show him. The trail picked up again past the sleeping bag, fresh tracks leading downhill toward a narrow creek. Echo moved faster now, occasionally stopping to sniff and whine. They reached a clearing with a small maintenance shed, probably used by park workers or county staff years ago. It looked abandoned. Echo stiffened. Ryan gripped his flashlight tighter and approached the door. It was slightly ajar, the padlock hanging broken. He nudged it open with his boot. The air inside was damp, musty. Old tools. Rusted shelves. And in the far corner, tucked behind an overturned wheelbarrow, was a child's shoe. Ryan picked it up. Size 2. Velcro strap. Clean. Too clean. Like it had been placed there. Echo whined low. There were scratches on the floorboards, small and frantic, like someone had tried to claw their way through. A thin strand of rope was caught in a crack near the wall, frayed at the edge. He scanned for blood, for hair, for anything. But the shed was empty. Again, almost. Outside, Ryan knelt beside Echo. This guy's on the move. He's not keeping Liam in one place long. Echo sniffed the air, then barked once and darted toward the trail leading north. Ryan checked his watch. If the SUV refueled at the gas station at 9:03 p.m., and they found the drawing just after 11, the suspect was at most 2 hours ahead, unless he'd doubled back. But why keep Liam alive? Why feed him? Why let him draw? Unless he wasn't ready to get rid of him yet. Ryan's gut twisted. They reached an old gravel road, just barely visible in the moonlight. Echo stopped at a pothole filled with rainwater and pawed at something. Ryan crouched. A keychain. Plastic. Shaped like a dinosaur. The rubber was cracked, the paint chipped. On the back, Liam's Rex written in faded Sharpie. Ryan closed his hand around it. They were close. 10 minutes later, Ryan reached a roadside turnout where Echo suddenly halted. His ears pinned back. Low growl. Echo? The dog took 2 cautious steps forward and stopped again, tail straight. Ryan scanned the tree line. Something metallic. Then he saw it, hidden behind the foliage, an old hunting cabin. No lights. No visible vehicle. Roof half collapsed. But there was movement behind the boarded-up window. Just a flicker. Echo's body tensed. "Easy, boy," Ryan whispered. He turned off his flashlight. Moved low, creeping closer. As he neared the back side of the cabin, he heard it. A creak of footsteps. And a muffled voice. Not yelling. Almost, coaxing. Ryan froze. Then Echo gave a low, sharp bark, pointed directly at the cabin. The voice stopped. A few seconds passed. Then. Slam. The back door of the cabin burst open. A figure sprinted into the woods, tall, fast, wearing dark clothes. A flashlight clipped to his belt swung wildly. Ryan cursed and reached for his radio, but Echo was already gone, chasing him into the trees. Ryan sprinted behind them. The flashlight beam bounced violently as he ran, ducking branches, dodging roots. The suspect was fast, but Echo was faster. A loud bark. A scuffle. Then silence. Ryan broke through the brush and found Echo standing over the man, who was face down in the dirt, one arm pinned beneath him, the other twisted awkwardly behind his back. The man groaned, spitting out leaves. "Get this damn dog off me." Ryan cuffed him fast. "You're under arrest," he said through clenched teeth. Don't move. As he stood up, Echo ran back toward the cabin. Ryan followed, heart hammering. The door creaked open. Inside was dark, dusty, and smelled of mold, but in the far corner, behind a pile of old blankets, a boy. Knees pulled to chest. Shaking. Eyes wide with terror. Liam? The boy flinched. Ryan dropped to a knee. Liam Brooks? My name's Ryan. You're safe now. That's my dog, Echo. He found you. Liam's lip quivered. The dog saw me. Ryan nodded. He sure did, buddy. He saw everything. Echo padded over slowly, tail wagging gently now. Liam reached out, and wrapped his arms around the dog's neck. The moon hung low over Fort Claridge, casting a silvery haze over the abandoned industrial zone on the outskirts of town. Echo's paws moved fast but precise, leading Officer Ryan Keller through the overgrown alley behind a crumbling warehouse. The night was still, but every few steps, Echo would pause, sniff the air, and adjust course like a compass dial spinning true north. Ryan followed in near silence, flashlight sweeping the path ahead, his Glock holstered but ready. He trusted Echo, always had, but tonight felt different. Urgent. Heavy. They'd been following a faint scent trail for the last 40 minutes. After discovering the zipper tab and Dino sticker back near the rest stop, Echo locked onto something, Liam sent, and wouldn't let it go. This way, buddy? Ryan whispered. Echo gave a soft whine and padded forward, head low, tail stiff. He wasn't just tracking, he was hunting. The warehouse had long been boarded up, rusted signage still hung crooked above the door, Midwest Piping Company, closed 10 years ago, bankrupt and forgotten. The kind of place teens dared each other to sneak into on Halloween. But to Echo, it wasn't forgotten. He pulled toward the side entrance, his nose brushing along the base of the cracked concrete wall. Ryan pushed the door gently. It creaked open just enough to let them in. The air inside was thick, dust, oil, mildew. And something else Ryan couldn't place. Echo sniffed the floor, then darted toward a stack of collapsed wooden pallets. Ryan's flashlight revealed a small strip of yellow fabric snagged on a jagged nail. He crouched and bagged it carefully. It matched the color of the t-shirt Liam had been wearing in his school photo. You're doing good, Echo, Ryan murmured. Real good. Echo kept sniffing along a narrow corridor until they reached a stairwell leading down to the old boiler room. Ryan hesitated. The concrete steps were damp and unstable. Echo didn't wait. By the time Ryan reached the bottom, Echo was frozen in place near a rusted tool locker. The dog barked once, low and sharp, then began pawing at the locker's base. Ryan stepped forward, heart pounding. A few scuff marks lined the ground. And there, barely visible in the dust, 2 tiny handprints. Side by side. Like someone had crouched, braced themselves, maybe tried to push something open. Ryan flashed his light into the locker. Empty. But behind it, he saw something strange, a thin seam in the concrete wall. Secret panel, he muttered, pushing the locker aside with a grunt. It scraped across the floor and revealed a narrow door, barely big enough for a grown man to squeeze through. There was no knob, just a handle from the inside, meaning it only opened one way. A one-way room. Ryan's blood chilled. Echo barked again, insistent now, and pawed at the door. Ryan drew his weapon, counted to 3, and kicked. The door burst open into a small, dark room. It was empty. But not unused. On the floor, a blanket. A half-eaten granola bar. A plastic water bottle. And a child's drawing. Ryan picked it up slowly. It was done in crayon, shaky lines, faint colors. A black car. A boy in yellow. And a man wearing a hat and sunglasses, drawn with an angry red face and excess for eyes. Jesus, Ryan breathed. Echo paced in a tight circle, then stopped and barked at a vent in the far corner. Ryan crouched beside it. It was broken open, and cool air flowed through. That's when he saw them, footprints in the dust, leading away from the vent, fresh ones. They moved him, Ryan whispered. Back outside, Ryan radioed in the Discovery, but kept his voice low. Confirming presence of evidence tied to missing child Liam Brooks. No visual on the child. Suspect may have relocated within the past hour. The dispatcher responded quickly. Copy that. Unit standing by. But Ryan wasn't ready to wait. He glanced down at Echo, who was already sniffing the edge of the vent trail, ears up. Can you keep going, boy? Echo wagged once, ready. They followed the scent across the back of the warehouse lot, through an overgrown field, and into the edge of the woods. Ryan had been out in these trails before, years ago, during a wildfire evacuation. But tonight felt different. They moved for nearly a mile before Echo suddenly stopped. He sniffed the ground, then barked toward a thicket of trees. Ryan parted the brush and gasped. A small plastic backpack, half buried in leaves. It was torn at the side and stained with dirt. He opened it with care. Inside, a juice box, a toy dinosaur keychain, and a spiral notebook with Liam's name written in shaky block letters on the inside cover. Ryan blinked back the sting in his eyes. They were close. So close. He turned to Echo, who was circling again, sniffing the air hard. The dog froze, ears up, then looked left. A faint crunch of gravel. Ryan turned off his flashlight, crouching low. Echo stayed silent but alert, muscles tense. A shadow moved up ahead, a silhouette crossing between two trees. It was too far to see clearly, but the shape was adult. Carrying something. Ryan lowered his voice. Echo, stay. Quiet. But the dog let out a low growl, not out of fear. Out of certainty. He smelled Liam. The boy was still here. They watched as the figure disappeared into the woods. Ryan waited a beat, then moved quickly, Echo by his side. But when they reached the area, there was nothing. No sound. No sign of movement. Only a small trail of boot prints. And Echo's nose, pressed deep into the soil, following again. Ryan exhaled hard. They weren't just chasing shadows anymore. They were on someone's heels. The sky over Fort Claridge was turning pale as dawn crept closer. Officer Ryan Keller stood outside a weather-worn vacation cabin nestled at the edge of Whispering Pines, a seldom-used state campground about an hour outside town. The place hadn't seen campers in weeks. But the tire tracks Echo followed led here. And Echo hadn't hesitated. The K9's nose was low to the ground, his movements focused and deliberate. Ryan had learned long ago, Echo didn't guess. If the dog stopped at a door and barked, something was behind it worth finding. Good boy, Ryan whispered as he clipped Echo's leash and pulled his sidearm. The cabin looked ordinary enough, old wood, paint chipped, a deck that sagged in the middle. No signs of movement. The temporary rental log listed a Mr. Paul Trenton, paid in cash 3 days ago. Fake name, fake ID. Typical. Ryan knocked loudly. Fort Claridge Police. If anyone's inside, make yourself known. Silence. Echo let out a sharp growl and pawed at the door. Ryan waited 1 beat more, then stepped back and kicked it open. The interior was musty, faintly sweet, like spoiled fruit and floor cleaner. Dust motes floated in the shafts of early morning light. But the air felt, recently disturbed. Furniture pushed back. A blanket on the floor. Empty snack wrappers. A bottle of water with condensation still on it. Echo, sweep. The dog moved with purpose, nose brushing across the rug, then toward the back hallway. Ryan followed, eyes scanning every surface. That's when Echo stopped. A low growl rumbled from his chest as he turned toward a narrow closet at the end of the hall. Ryan tensed, gun raised. He yanked the door open. Empty. Just old coats, cleaning supplies, a broken vacuum, and Echo shoved his head inside and started pawing the floorboards. Ryan knelt and shone his flashlight downward. One board was loose. Beneath it, a crayon drawing, folded in half. Ryan picked it up gently and unfolded it. A child's drawing, stick figures. One was clearly a boy, wearing a blue backpack and a crooked smile, next to a tall black car. The windows were shaded in thick scribbles. And beside the car, a figure loomed in black, long arms, hat, no face. At the top, in red crayon, were the shaky letters. I'm Liam. He says don't talk. Ryan exhaled slowly. It wasn't just a clue. It was a cry for help. He stepped into the small bedroom nearby. On the nightstand sat another sheet of paper. More stick figures. This one showed a small boy inside a box, maybe a room or container, surrounded by big black XS. But this time, the boy was crying. And something was taped to the paper, a shoelace, tied in a knot. Echo was at the far corner of the room now, sniffing along the baseboard. Suddenly, he started barking, loud and fierce, and scratched at the wall just beside the dresser. Ryan pushed the dresser aside. Beneath it, a faint outline of a panel. Echo, he said, kneeling. You found it. With effort, Ryan pried the panel off. Behind it, a narrow cavity. A hidden compartment. Inside. A coil of duct tape. A half-empty bag of gummy bears. A rope, frayed at the ends. A small blue sock. And one Polaroid photo, faded and creased. Ryan swallowed hard. The photo showed Liam, sitting on a mattress, arms wrapped around his knees. A timestamp at the bottom, 24 hours ago. He immediately called it in. Confirmed child presence at Whispering Pines cabin. Clues suggest recent occupation. Child may still be in the area. Suspect likely relocated. Request K-9 unit backup and air support. Echo circled back to the doorway, whining. Ryan looked at the floor again. The mattress was gone. No blood. No obvious signs of struggle. Liam had been moved. And recently. 10 minutes later, backup arrived. Another K-9 unit and 2 patrol cars. Ryan briefed them quickly, showing the drawings and the items from the wall panel. What's with the shoelace? One officer asked. Kid might have been trying to leave a trail, Ryan replied. Breadcrumbs. Echo was already pulling at his leash again, leading them to the tool shed just behind the cabin. Inside the shed, more rope. An empty roll of tape. An old sleeping bag. But no Liam. Then Echo stopped again. At the corner of the shed, the soil had been disturbed. Echo barked sharply and began digging. The officers rushed over, prepared for the worst. But instead of a body, they found a trapdoor. The space beneath was shallow, barely tall enough for a child to sit upright. The walls were wooden. The floor, dirt. No lights. No ventilation. Just one flashlight, still warm. Ryan climbed down and swept his beam across the small space. Candy wrappers. A child's sock. Scrawled into the wooden beam above. Please find me, in uneven handwriting. His stomach twisted. Liam had been here. Hours ago. Maybe less. But someone had taken him again. Echo let out a short, clipped bark. He was facing the woods behind the cabin, nose flaring, ears perked. Ryan nodded. Let's go, partner. He's not far. Officer Ryan Keller parked his cruiser just off the gravel path that snaked behind the tree line. The moon hung low, casting silver streaks through the branches. The place looked like it hadn't been touched in years, an old hunting cabin tucked behind a dead-end dirt road, far enough from town to be forgotten, but close enough for someone with something to hide. Echo leapt out of the vehicle the moment Ryan opened the door. The K9's body was stiff, alert, and his nose already pressed low to the ground, tail flicking with intention. Ryan scanned the small clearing, just one dark cabin and an old weather-beaten shed beside it. The same black SUV they'd seen on the traffic cam was parked under a tarp-covered carport, barely visible. "I think we've got him, boy," Ryan whispered. Echo didn't wait for the command. He darted toward the shed, not the cabin, circling it, sniffing the baseboards, then stopping cold at one specific spot near the back wall. Then he barked. Deep. Relentless. Ryan approached carefully, flashlight in one hand, the other hovering near his holster. The shed door was padlocked, but the side wall had a warped plank. Ryan pulled it loose, and Echo squeezed through before he could say a word. Within seconds, the barking intensified. Then came the scratching. Echo was digging. Ryan slipped inside, brushing off spider webs as he ducked through the low ceiling. The inside smelled like damp wood and old motor oil. Dust floated thick in the beam of his flashlight. And then he saw it, Echo, clawing at a section of floor that didn't quite match the rest. The boards were newer, slightly misaligned, and one of them was cracked at the corner like it had been pried open and shut too many times. Ryan knelt beside his partner and pressed his ear to the wood. Silence. But the boards were warm. Not just from summer air, but recent body heat. He grabbed the edge of the cracked board and pulled. A faint metallic click echoed through the shed. The floor creaked open like a trapdoor. Inside was a crawlspace, shallow and hastily dug. Blankets were scattered on a dirt floor, along with a half-empty water bottle, a dented lunchbox, and a plastic toy dinosaur missing one leg. No child. But everything inside was fresh, not dusty, not stale. Someone had been here recently. Probably hours ago. Echo sniffed hard, then sneezed and growled. Ryan looked closer. A partially burnt cell phone lay near the back corner of the crawlspace, its screen shattered, but part of a message was still visible in the reflection of Ryan's flashlight. Tuesday, delivery confirmed, boy ready. Ryan's stomach turned. Delivery? He took photos with his phone, bagged the items, and scanned the dirt again. Next to the blanket was something even more chilling, a small sock, white with blue stars. It was balled up tightly like it had been used to muffle a scream. Echo whined low in his throat. "Where is he now?" Ryan whispered. Back outside, Echo pulled toward the field behind the property. There were tire tracks in the grass, fresh, still crisp in the damp soil from last night's rain. Ryan crouched to study them. Wide treads. Heavy load. Probably a van or large SUV. Whoever had held Liam here was gone. But not far. Echo took off along the path, nose low, tail straight. Ryan followed close behind, flashlight bouncing with every step. They crossed the field, then hit gravel again, leading toward a side road that wasn't on GPS. As Ryan jogged, dispatch crackled in his earpiece. Unit 14, be advised, we've received a tip from a trucker off Highway 62. Claims he saw a boy waving out the bathroom window of a roadside motel. Matches description of Liam Brooks. Unit 12 is en route but requesting K9 support. Ryan didn't wait. He was already turning back toward the cruiser. Echo jumped in like he knew what the call meant. Let's go finish this. 15 minutes later, they pulled into the High Pines Motel, a dimly lit, one-story row of rooms off a mostly empty highway exit. A neon sign buzzed overhead, missing the "G" in Pines. 2 patrol cars were already there, lights flashing low. Officers were speaking with the motel clerk, but no one had made a move yet. Ryan approached the lead officer. "You got eyes on the room?" The officer nodded. "Room 7. Window faces the back lot. Clerk says a man checked in solo about an hour ago. Paid cash. No ID." Ryan didn't wait. He unhooked Echo's leash. "Let him lead." Echo sprinted ahead, straight toward the back lot, and right to room 7. He stopped at the side window. Then barked. Once. Loud. Direct. Ryan joined him and peered through a gap in the curtain. The room was dark. But in the faint light from the bathroom, he saw a figure, small, crouched beside the sink. A boy. And he was holding up his hand again. The silent signal. Officers flanked the front and back. Ryan stayed low, hand on Echo's harness. He knocked once, sharply. No answer. Then he heard the bolt slide. The door cracked open. A man in a baseball cap stepped out, then froze when he saw Echo's bared teeth. "Don't move," Ryan said, leveling his weapon. The man turned to run, but Echo launched. One bark. One takedown. The suspect hit the pavement with a thud, Echo's teeth gripping his arm. Ryan rushed inside. There, huddled by the bathroom door, was Liam Brooks, eyes wide, lips trembling, but alive. Ryan dropped to one knee. "You're safe now, buddy. We've got you." Liam looked past him, to Echo, and smiled through tears. "I knew he'd find me," he whispered. "The dog saw me." The motel was the kind of place where no one asked questions. One story, peeling paint, cracked pavement. Room doors that opened straight to the parking lot. It sat off Route 42, barely visible behind a row of overgrown hedges and a faded sign that hadn't lit up in years. But Echo found it. He sat stiff in the passenger seat of Officer Ryan Keller's cruiser, eyes locked on a specific room, number 6, head tilted just slightly to the side, as if listening to something Ryan couldn't hear. Ryan trusted that look. Echo didn't tilt his head unless he was absolutely certain. And Ryan had learned the hard way, when your K9 partner hears something, you move. 10 minutes earlier, a traffic camera had caught the black SUV turning off the main road just 2 miles from here. No plates. Same model. Same damage on the rear panel. Still no clear shot of the driver. But Echo didn't need a photo. He needed a scent. And he'd tracked it, nose to the pavement, all the way to this cracked parking lot. Ryan had called for backup. 2 cruisers were on the way. But the last 72 hours had taught him something crucial: waiting cost time. And time was not on Liam Brooks' side. Echo's ears perked again. A low growl vibrated from his chest. Room 6. Ryan stepped out of the cruiser slowly, keeping his hand near his holster. Echo followed, no leash, trained to stay close. The dog crouched low, inching forward in silence. Ryan leaned in near the door. From inside, barely audible, a creak. Floorboard? Mattress springs? Then, a cough. Small. Choked. A child. Ryan knocked hard. Police. Open the door. No response. Echo began barking, furious now, teeth bared, pawing at the base of the door. Ryan didn't wait. He stepped back, drew his sidearm, and kicked the door in with one forceful stomp. The room stank of sweat and mildew. The curtains were drawn. The air was stale, heavy. A duffel bag lay open on the floor, filled with duct tape, gloves, and protein bars. On the nightstand, a burner phone buzzed once, then stopped. And in the corner? A man bolted upright from the edge of the bed, scrambling for something under the mattress. Echo didn't give him the chance. With a powerful leap, the K9 slammed into the suspect, taking him down hard, teeth snapping inches from the man's arm until Ryan reached him, cuffed him, and yanked him to his feet. "You picked the wrong kid to take," Ryan growled. The man, early 40s, glasses cracked, mouth bleeding, just sneered. He was supposed to be gone already. Ryan shoved him against the wall. "Where's Liam?" Then, from the bathroom door behind them, a small voice. "I'm here." Ryan turned. And there he was. Liam Brooks. Pale, shaking, hair matted. Standing barefoot in an oversized shirt, clutching a towel like a shield. His lip was swollen. His eyes were red. Echo let out a soft whimper and stepped forward gently. Liam looked at the dog, and his bottom lip quivered. "You're the one who saw me," he whispered. Echo approached slowly, lowering his head, tail still. Liam dropped the towel and collapsed onto his knees, arms around the dog's neck. "I knew someone would see me. I kept doing the hand thing. I didn't know if it was working." Ryan knelt beside them, one hand on the boy's shoulder. "You did exactly what you were supposed to do, buddy," he said gently. "You held on." "And Echo?" He never stopped looking. Back at the station hours later, after Liam had been checked out by paramedics and reunited with his tearful parents, Ryan sat in the locker room with Echo. It was almost dawn. "You did good, partner," he said, scratching behind Echo's ears. "You didn't let him down." Echo let out a low huff and rested his head on Ryan's knee. The chief walked in, coffee in hand. "Press is outside. They want the usual statement, photo op, maybe a pat on the head for the dog." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "We not done being human for the night?" The chief chuckled. "Not if they can make a headline out of it. But seriously. You two saved a life. That boy might have been gone tomorrow. Or worse." Ryan nodded, still staring at Echo. He sent out a signal. Just one. Everyone missed it. Except him. He stood, stretching sore muscles. "Let's go give them their story." 3 days later, Echo received a Medal of Honor in front of a crowd of cheering neighbors, kids waving posters that said, "Thank you, Echo," in bright crayon letters. Liam was there too, sitting between his parents. He wore a blue hoodie with Echo's pawprint stitched on the sleeve. At the end of the ceremony, Liam walked up to the podium. He didn't say much. He just looked at the crowd and said, "I didn't think anyone could see me, but Echo did. Sparkles, thank you so much for following this powerful story of courage, instinct, and trust. Echo didn't just save a boy, he reminded us all to pay attention, even when things seem ordinary." What would you have done if you saw a child flash a silent SOS through a window? Let us know in the comments, we read every one. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible K9 rescue stories.